Today we're going to talk about probably the most important topic I can imagine. What is it? We're going to talk about, is Seattle a good place to live?
We're going to talk about the 5 main topics of Seattle, and that's going to be climate, traffic, schools, safety, and lastly, home prices. And a little bonus, at the very end, we're going to tell you if Jason and I were moving to Seattle, what city would we move into?
Wait, really?
Yep.
Oh, this is going to be interesting.
Welcome to K5 News here, and just to let you guys know, traffic sucks here in Seattle.
Well, it's actually King 5 News. I don't know what you're talking about.
K is for king.
Yeah, whatever. Traffic does suck here, but let's talk more specifically.
Okay.
So if you're moving to the Seattle area and you're kind of planning what your commute would be for work, make sure you actually get out here and test the drive. Why? Because a mile is not just a mile.
No.
Right? So for me, I used to commute from Kirkland to Seattle, and it's only about 12 miles.
Yeah.
But those 12 miles could take you 30 minutes on certain days and 45 minutes on certain days. So I definitely encourage you not to just look at the mileage because it could take a lot longer than you think.
Yep, and a little stat for you, Seattle is actually ranked the 21st worst city for traffic.
I don't buy that at all. Like,
I think it's
here,
worse.
It feels so bad. And again, part of it is because people love living here.
Yeah.
But there's parts of I-5, like let me try drive. So the main freeways, and we'll have a map here. You got I-5 that goes north and south in Seattle. Basically 405 on the Bellevue side that goes north and south. And then you got I-90, which is a bridge that goes east-west, and 520, that's a bridge that goes east to west. And I look at that, what is that? The hashtag sign. It's kind of like this way and this way. All of those are terrible commutes.
Yeah.
But traffic is everywhere. So when you say 21st, I know that it feels worse than that by living here my whole life.
So if you're working out here, get a work from home job. That's the way to be.
If you can get that, but think about that. Work from home. So during COVID, what people did is they're like, you know what? I don't have to worry about my commute anymore.
Yeah.
I can move further out northeast, southwest. And people did that.
I know.
And then when the call back to the office, when Amazon and Microsoft and Meta and all those companies, all those people that moved out further on the outskirts,
What'd they do?
they're having to move back in.
Yep, but they also called us to sell their house because they had to relocate closer.
I don't know. Not really. Yeah, so when they got the call back in, what everybody had to do was move closer in because they didn't want to commute an hour and a half each way.
Yeah.
They wanted their commute back down to 20 or 30 minutes, so they had to move back into Bellevue, Kirkland, Redmond areas if they could afford it.
Okay, so the next topic's gonna be climate, and that's actually very important from people relocating from Texas, California, Arizona.
East Coast, wherever.
Anywhere. The climate here is not your normal climate.
You know, I think what people think from the outside is Seattle, it rains every day.
Yeah.
And I'll say by living here, go ahead and think that. And we've always said that because we don't want people to move here.
Yeah.
We want to hold it close to our chest. But the truth is, probably half the year, it's drizzly, but it's probably more gray than anything.
Yeah, it's just more cloudy.
Yeah, I mean, like looking out today it's May of 2025, and it's kind of like half gray, cloudy skies. It's not raining or anything. And this is a very typical like springish day before we get to summertime.
Yeah.
You know, so again, we get a bad rap, but you don't get a lot of snow. Like how many days do you think it snows a year?
2 weeks.
So
14 days maybe?
At the most.
Yeah. But we do get the black ice. That's another conversation.
Yeah. So like it doesn't, like there's not a ton of snow. Like if you want to get to the mountains, we'll get to that in a little bit. It's easy to get to the mountains if you love the snow. But if you live closer in, it's gray, it's drizzly. The weather's really pretty mild, I'd probably say. Like in the wintertime, it's probably the lows you probably get between like mid 30s and mid 40s. In the springtime, it's pretty mild in the 60s like it is now. And the summer's awesome.
Definitely the best summers you'll ever have.
Like, think about the summers. Summers, when I grew up here, nobody had air conditioning because you didn't need it.
Yeah.
Now, the climate's changing a little bit, but more importantly, the weather in the summer is probably 70s to low 80s. There's probably a week where it gets pretty hot.
Yeah.
Where people are like, I wish I had air conditioning if I don't have it. But it's probably 1 week.
Maybe a week, yeah.
But overall, it's super mild. I love the climate here. So my wife, Molly, moved here from the Midwest where you get like the extremes in the winter, snow, and the extreme hot and humidity in the summer. She said she would pick this every day, the weather here, because it's that much more mild.
Well, it's like a trade-off, right? So if say you lived in Arizona and it's very hot, would you rather not be able to go outside because it's too hot, or would you rather not be able to go outside because it's cloudy?
Yeah, I mean, I personally could never imagine not being comfortable going outside. Like one of my best friends when I was a kid, he moved down to Arizona, and he's like, yeah, you just don't go outside in the summer. I'm like, would you just sit and play Monopoly all day long?
Yeah, I don't know.
Right, so here in the summer, you can always go outside. It's always comfortable. Even if it gets crazy hot for us, which is probably in the 90s.
Yeah.
You know, it's not crazy humid. It's really comfortable.
And it was actually ranked, Seattle was actually ranked 6th most mild climate in the US, which is making people come here.
Yeah, but don't worry. So like we have started those rumors that it's crazy. The weather's terrible. You know, don't come here. It's terrible. Just kidding.
So just another quick data point. So Seattle is actually ranked number 2 in the US best city to live.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I get it. That's
But it was also ranked 7th on worst place to live.
And so that's interesting to me because one of the best places to live makes a lot of sense because the economy's good, the jobs are great, the climate's great, all this stuff that we're talking about, like except for maybe the traffic. But you know that comes to be with a place that's great to live, you're gonna get bad traffic. 7th place worst to live is pretty interesting. Like I think that like if you can't afford to live here,
for sure,
that's gonna feel terrible. You know, I know people, clients and friends that have moved away because they can't afford housing here.
Yeah.
Right, so that's one thing. But I also wonder, like, regardless of your political beliefs, if you lean like a little bit further conservative and you want to live closer in Seattle, Kirkland, Bellevue, that area, it's much more of a liberal area, especially if you're in the cities. Yeah. So I wonder if you lean a little bit more conservative, that it's an area you might not favor or want to live long term.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah, or you can move farther out, right?
Yeah.
So
and again, if you move on the outskirts, so if you're moving northeast, southwest, Snohomish, further out in Puyallup or something, like those political climates can change dramatically versus like being a little bit closer in and being a little bit more leaning to the left.
Yeah. So Seattle, you love it or you hate it.
Or maybe you're somewhere in the middle. Maybe you're trying to get out of town. Like I've had clients who've lived here their whole lives, and during COVID, you know what they said? They're like, this got too much to me for me. Like I'm out. And then we have plenty of clients that move in every year that are like, we've always wanted to visit Seattle. We got here, we love it. We're never gonna move.
Yeah.
So it can go both ways.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so I'm gonna be the data guy today.
Wait. I'm the dad guy then.
Then you give your life experiences with your kids.
Yeah.
But we're gonna talk about schools. So in Seattle, 114 of the schools are actually ranked in the US as best schools.
Makes sense.
Schools ranked in the top 25%, there's 44 of them. And there's 39% that are ranked in the top 25 in the entire nation.
Well, really? Okay.
Yeah.
And so that makes sense. Do you have more data?
Well, this is just more.
The
so these are all public schools. So I'm not going into private. Obviously, a lot of the private schools are even better, but I'm gonna just go with that. But I will say the highest ranked school nationally is actually a school that we have in Redmond, which is the STEM high school.
Yeah. That's very unique. And it makes sense being in Redmond because Redmond's kind of like that tech area where they're like you may or may not, like the parents may care more if they're software engineers and in that field to have their kids go to the best school probably in the country.
Yeah.
But you know, it's interesting because growing up here, so the Seattle area is kind of divided up into two halves is the way I'm gonna look at it. You're like on the Seattle side, which we call the west side. And if you're looking at a map, and we'll have a map up here, there's Lake Washington, and if you're on the west side, that's the Seattle side. If you're on the east side, where Bellevue is, Kirkland, Redmond, where Bill Gates is and where the STEM school is.
Yeah.
If you live on the east side where these schools are really highly ranked, right? So this is where I grew up. So if you're really highly ranked, the schools are really highly ranked there, you don't necessarily even need to go to a private school, right? The schools are great. Public schools are really good. The safety's really good. I mean, I went to school there and I didn't
Turned out great.
to end up too terrible. But if you're on the Seattle side, what happens is if you're a family, and even if let's say you moved here in your late 20s, you don't have kids, you're like, I want to be somewhere kind of fun and cool. I want to be in a neighborhood near Seattle, walkable, all that kind of fun stuff. What ends up typically happening is as you grow up and you have your kids get out of more of the elementary age, you either send them to private schools if you live in the Seattle side, that west side, or you move to the east side and where the schools are much better and you're not having to pay out of pocket for private schools.
Yeah.
So it's very divided. And I think even our clients who, as they grow up and their kids are getting older, the debate comes, which side of the lake do I want to be on, specifically because of schools?
So just a question. If someone's looking for a house and they're looking at the Zillow or Redfin school rankings, what are your thoughts on those rankings?
I think they're pretty, they all pull them from different websites, right?
Yeah.
So they usually pull them from a website called Great Schools. And Great Schools is like, they pull all the data, but it's not always 100% the truth,
Yeah,
right?
true.
So I know that like the schools, so my kids both went to an elementary school called Peter Kirk in Kirkland. And I love that school, but it didn't always get the highest ranking. But the teachers were awesome. The kids went on to do great things. Like my son ended up at a great college, and that's not genetics because that's not on me. But I will say the rankings aren't everything, but as you get further outside of this Bellevue, Kirkland, East Side bubble, and you're moving out to like areas where you like, if you're looking at south or north, right? So if you're in Linwood or you're in Renton, right? So that's where the schools, even the homes, prices of homes go down there because the schools don't get as high ratings.
Agreed. Yep. So if you have any questions about any schools around the Seattle area, reach out to us or look at gradeschools.org. Also, if it's regarding private schools, we'd be happy to be a resource for you.
What the heck was that? It was like a squeaky toot. That doesn't sound like that.
That's not me then. Okay, and our next topic's gonna be safety.
Yeah, that's an important one.
It's a very important one. So I'm gonna give a couple stats because I'm the data guy, okay? So as of April 2025, which is last month, crime has decreased 20% as of 2 years ago. So I consider that as a positive in Seattle.
That's a huge deal. And again, like you probably saw all over the news at the riots. Yeah, several years ago. And that's where people got, I think there was an exodus of Seattle because people felt, when I say the riots, it's in a certain part of downtown Seattle.
Correct.
It's not all over the region. It's not all over where we're considering Bellevue, Kirkland, Redmond, kind of where we talked about the schools are a little bit more favorable. It's in downtown Seattle.
Yeah, and so actually downtown Seattle is the highest crime in the Seattle area. Even the metropolitan area, downtown Seattle is where you get the most crime.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, because in downtown Seattle, you're going to get, it's so much more condensed, right? So you get, there's a little bit more homeless population, and they've created these tent cities. And in my experience, I've never personally felt that. I've never ever felt unsafe in Seattle.
I actually haven't either. Like going to Mariners games, Kraken games, Seahawks games, walking around downtown, getting a Seattle dog.
But I think where I think people would feel it, so if you come to Seattle and you're from somewhere in the middle of the Midwest where my wife's from, or somewhere else not on the coast, you might feel a little bit more of the homeless problem.
Yeah,
that's the way I feel it. Yeah, you might feel a little uneasy where you walk out of a bus stop and you see somebody laying down on the ground or on a bench sleeping or something like that. That's where I feel that you might experience that, but I don't think you'll ever feel unsafe.
Yeah, I agree. So the stats in Seattle, the two biggest crimes are motor vehicle theft and drugs. So in my opinion, it's not really the uncertainty of being attacked by somebody or the safety part of that part. So it doesn't really include safety. It's more of keep your stuff locked. And don't do drugs.
Yeah, I can't even like, and I know that, and I think that's going to happen anywhere. Like if you're in this kind of condensed, compacted, like if you're in New York or Chicago or LA, it's like all along the coast, you're going to feel that. So we're on the coast too. But I've never felt unsafe. But when I think about people who move to Seattle and they say, okay, where's the safest place to live?
Okay, so let's talk about that. 3 safest cities in Seattle. One is Laurelhurst.
So that Laurelhurst is on the Seattle side.
Yep. It's on the east side of the Seattle side.
East side, Seattle side.
Then you have Windermere.
Right there in that same neighborhood.
Which is right next to it.
These are where the rich people
And
live.
the third part is Madison Park.
Right. So these are all really great neighborhoods if you're on the Seattle side. On the east side, where we're talking about where Bill Gates lives, where Chris has owned his first house where I live, that is always feels safe to me.
Yeah.
But if you want the safest city on that side, people move to Sammamish.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit further away. Sammamish has like great schools, that typically #1 safe place to live in the Seattle area. But again, like if we get to dive deep, I don't think I've ever felt unsafe.
Yeah.
And I don't think you would either.
Well, and then just to kind of calm everybody down, crime happens everywhere, right? I mean, Sammamish was voted the safest small town in the US, and my car got broken into there. It was my fault.
Why?
I left my backpack in Plainview and someone stole my backpack. So they punched the window, grabbed my backpack and ran out. It happens. Don't do that. Put your stuff away. But crime happens everywhere.
This is coming from a police officer. So like if you leave your backpack open with your MacBook and your iPhone and your Rolex on top, somebody might jump in.
Yeah, I know. We get it. Crime happens everywhere. It's okay. So a Seattle dog. So the Seattle
It's
dog
so
is,
good.
honest to God, the best thing I've had in Seattle.
And before you get into it, what people will think is when you explain it, they're gonna be like, that is gross. So you come out of a Mariner game, or as a kind of a youthful guy who used to go downtown and hang out at some fun places to hang out, clubs and bars.
Yep.
You walk out late at night, the vendors are selling these Seattle dogs. Tell them about it.
There is, but there's one guy, and his name is Hector. I don't know what his booth's called, but he's got the longest line. So
But what's on it?
it's a Seattle dog. So you got a nice toasted bun. You got the glizzy, which is a hot dog. And then you got cream cheese,
Cream cheese.
onions,
Cream cheese.
and onions.
It's so good.
And that's it.
You know what's funny? Even when Molly moved out here, she hated cream cheese. She wouldn't eat food that was white for whatever reason. But the Seattle dogs with cream cheese.
It changes your life. I'll be honest with you. Like I am a foodie, but wow, was that a good hot dog. I think I had
I'm
two.
going to lunch.
You get me one?
I'll be back later.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about a very hot topic, which is the home prices in Seattle proper
Yep.
and the metropolitan around Seattle.
Okay, cool.
So the average home price in Seattle proper is $950,000.
God, you know, it feels like 2 years ago it was probably 650,000.
I'm sure it was.
It's changing so rapidly.
Yeah, and the metropolitan area around it as a whole, the average is 700,000.
Okay, so that's if you're spreading out northeast, southwest.
Yep, exactly.
Do you have the data for if you live on this east side, Kirkland, Bellevue?
Yeah, so it kind of changes, but so the average home price in Bellevue is 1.8.
Okay.
Okay, and if you wanted to go south, kind of around Tacoma,
Yep.
the average price point there is about 450 to
Yeah.
500,000.
And so when you hear the price points, typically the price points will go down, but your commute time goes up.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's very true.
So, and also as the schools get better, price points typically go up.
Exactly.
So if you're talking about this 950, so you're kind of in that Seattle area, you're not living in these top 2 or 3 safest areas, but you're living in good areas.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So you're living, maybe you're in a condo downtown, maybe you're in an area called Shoreline, but you're in a good area. But these are the areas we're also talking about where as your kids get older, maybe they're gonna go to private schools versus public schools. So, but on the east side, you said Bellevue's
1.8 is the average median home price value.
And it's funny, living close to Bellevue, I personally feel that number is super low.
Yeah.
Like how often do you find in Bellevue a house that's actually 1.8 million? That's a very good house.
Not often.
So I
Even
actually-
the dirt sells for 1.5.
Yeah. So I think some of these numbers are skewed a little bit. So most people who are moving into the Seattle area that want to be in this Bellevue area, Redmond, Kirkland, and you're in that 1.8 to $2 million range, it's really expensive, but you're in a great area.
Yeah.
And I know if you're watching this and you live like where I came up talking about my wife Molly in Michigan, the average price point there, I know her family just bought a house for like $500,000 for a 4,000 square foot house. That house in Kirkland, Bellevue, Redmond would be how much?
3 million.
3 million.
Yeah.
So it's that dramatically different, but the home prices increase annually very well.
Yeah.
They took off obviously during COVID, but it's just a really good place to live.
So going into the home prices, right, and the average home prices in and around Seattle, the 3 things that an appraiser would look at, and us agents, is the price, the location, and the condition.
Yep.
So location can change everything. Are you by power lines? Are you by a homeless camp?
Are you walkable?
Yeah.
Right? Are you in a good school district?
Yep.
You know, the difference between one zip code, like you could be one street over and you might feed into one school district and the next street over feeds into a different school district and the value of the home could change by $100,000 or $200,000.
Completely.
Could change dramatically. So school districts matter, location matters, the size of your home matters, the condition of your home matters. But in general, home values on this kind of the east side, Kirkland, Bellevue, Redmond, are outpacing the Seattle side.
Yeah, for sure.
With some outliers, meaning like, do you have a view of the water?
Yeah.
Right? Do you live on the water? Do you live on a golf course? Those things kind of change everything no matter where you are.
And so these homes are 1910, 1920 homes.
That's super interesting. So one of the things that's really important when you're buying a home is making sure one of the most expensive things that sucks to fix is a sewer line.
Well, I'd say the big 3 is a sewer, electrical, and plumbing.
Okay, so if you're talking about homes in Seattle, you might be buying a home built in the early 1900s,
Yeah.
and one thing you really want to pay attention to is the sewer line in good condition? And a good agent or a good plumber can help you discover what that is. And is the electrical really old and updated? Because
Knob and tube.
it's got this old knob and tube built in the 1950s.
Big fire hazard.
But if you flip over to this east side, Kirkland, Bellevue, Redmond, you don't really find any of that. Older homes on this side are probably built typically in the 70s, where the sewer lines have been updated and the electrical is not this knob and tube.
Yeah.
So your buying experience, if you're buying like in the Seattle proper area versus like
The metropolitan
further out, can
Yeah.
be completely different. But have a really good trusted advisor, agent, plumber, electrician, whatever,
Yeah.
to guide you through the process.
Bonus time.
I love the bonus.
If we could move to one city or little pocket in Seattle, where would it be? Don't say it yet.
Oh, I know this. I know exactly where I
This is
want.
what we're gonna do. You're gonna write yours on this one, and I'm gonna write mine on this one, and then we're gonna show it to the camera. All right, 3, 2, 1. Kirkland
Magnolia.
wants to market. In Seattle, you turd. That's not in Seattle.
I don't care, because growing up in the area, the one area. Can I have my own choice?
If I was supposed to pick metropolitan, I probably would have picked the same thing. But in Seattle, proper.
So the
I would
thing
pick
is,
Magnolia.
you know,
if you see the mountains behind it, you're gonna have that view.
I like Magnolia too, but you know what? I'll go with mine.
West of Market. It's Seattle. This is Seattle.
So obviously, I think Seattle's a great place to live, and I hope you do too. Anything else you want to know, just let us know.
I've been here for 5 years, moving from California, and I'm not going anywhere. I hope this video helped. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below or subscribe, and we'll see you later.